Hi guys, and welcome to Let's Play Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. I think this is episode 90. That was basically because I had to combine both episode 89 and 90 into 89 because something went wrong with the recording, as you probably have noticed. But today on the menu we have a special dish, and that is the queue. Now, you may or may not know about this, but the queue line is a very infamous thing for me, since I am very well known to completely suck tits when it comes to queues. Absolutely terrible, which is due to a couple of reasons. I mean, for one, I just haven't had too much experience with them. Honestly, I don't even know how queues really work in theme parks, or at least I didn't really know up until I really built this queue, since I did get quite some help in the stream. Because I haven't just been in a theme park for a couple of years, and I really haven't paid too much attention to it. And then there's also the fact that I just don't really like queues, just kind of regard them as that sort of thing at the back which doesn't really receive all of the scenery and I'm not really too interested in, so that's also a thing. And there is of course just the fact that I really don't have too much experience with how I should even make them look a tiny bit nicer. I mean, it works alright for flat rides, since you don't really have to do too much about it, but for big attractions it's definitely a different thing. But in the end, the queue was built at the end of the stream, and we were all still alive, and whoa, I'm still okay, I just need to not do that. So yeah, whether it's a good or a really bad queue, I'll leave that up to anybody to decide. But in the end, I think it kind of worked out. Also, yeah, I'm talking about the queue already, even though that's not even built yet, because I'm getting ahead of myself. There was actually at some point a comment about, hey Silver, I think the video and the audio are not completely synced for this video on YouTube over here, which is actually always the case. I always make sure to actually sync the audio and the video. It just happens way too often that I get ahead of myself. But then again, this is just a simple station works over here. It's really too interesting how it's sort of unfinished at the moment. I still need to get rid of the station railings and actually be able to set up the station proper and get some extra railings on the side of the station. Right now it's not going to be too functional. Then again, I don't really care too much for this station, just some simple little planters, details and lights, and then I think we're all good. That being said, I did care about the queue over here, since I do want to have a more realistic approach to this park that includes actually getting the queues done right and whatever other details I still want to add to my attractions. So yeah, I did get a lot of help over here in the stream, and I want to, at the same time, just kind of apologize for all the people who were there, for all my stubbornness. Sometimes I just completely flat out refused to do anything that was told me, which in some cases really resulted to me having to, in the end, actually admit that I was completely wrong. But then again, I did get some great help in that stream, and it did help actually getting a decent queue over here, which I think in the end is probably decent. It might still have some realism problems, like still don't know exactly how in real life these things would work, but I think we're getting there. I'm not too much of a theme park enthusiast, so excuse me for not knowing too much of it over here. But then again, I do have plenty of people, I suppose, around me that can help me with that, so that's awesome. But yeah, the approach to this queue is actually very simple. I almost actually had functionality over aesthetics over here, and the sort of cut out layouts that I had for it was just the first half is what's usually going to be used as the queue, and the second half is what is usually going to be closed off, but just for when it gets, like when the really many people that for some reason want to ride my boring log flume, that I actually have the capacity to queue up all those people as well. And yeah, so I suppose it really works in a very simple way. I don't even understand how I don't understand queues. I mean, they really are a straightforward thing when you think about it. And this queue over here isn't really going to have too much theming. That is something that I definitely want to work towards, having more themed queues, especially for the dark rides, of course, with many props and scenery around it, but that's definitely not the case over here. It's just going to be rocks and some nice views of the roller coasters, but then again, that is also a bit of a functional reason. I have actually read some articles about queues which had some very interesting points to bring up about the fact that a queue isn't just to queue up people and make sure that you can actually have people enter the ride. in a fair way, but it really is also all about actually entertaining the guests while you're getting the guests queued up in that way. Since you're going to be spending a lot of your time of being in a theme park, especially when you're in a really big, busy theme park, or when you just had a very bad day over there. So you do want to somewhat entertain your guests, and you can't just spam TVs for that, like in Roller Coaster Tycoon. Anybody remember that? The earlier Roller Coaster Tycoons? Just TVs freaking everywhere in the queues. It looked like shit, but your guests were entertained somehow. That was amazing. They were ugly though, but that's totally beside the point. So yeah, the basic sort of scenery that I had over here was just basic rockwork and foliage, and of course lights to make it look a tiny bit better than just an empty queue with nothing to it. And it does have a tiny bit of ride interaction over here though, and I think it does have some pretty good views of the hill that the ride does ride. So that are the slight cons of the queue in the end. It's really not too special, but then again, I was sort of proud at the end, and I know this might sound really weird, but thing is, I have made countless facades in my life in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and I feel at this point I could just build a brilliant facade and still be like, okay, that went alright, let's just move on. But when it comes to actually doing queues or similar stuff that I've rarely ever done, I was just proud to get a queue in here that doesn't completely suck ass, because that's something that hasn't happened to me too many times. So I was actually quite happy about that. As mediocre, well, I suppose it's just decent. It's not a great queue, it's just decent. At least that's what I like to tell myself about it. So in the end it did sort of work out. And it's always fun to just place flowers, little foliage things. That's actually one of the, I think one of the most fun things to do in Roller Coaster 3 though. I have brought this up in the past, I think. But just because it's a really simple, mindless sort of thing. I mean, planning a queue still does take a tiny bit of your brain. A tiny bit of that grey matter just to think about how you need to plan it and how it even works. Especially for me, since I don't really know too much about that. But just flowers. It's always just a fun little thing to do, if you ask me. I suppose it's the same sort of, like, thing. It's really hard to explain it. I would almost say, like, if you're depressed, like, play Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 or something. I mean, I would do that if I were, I think. It's just that sort of thing that you can just put all your bad thoughts or your stress aside and just worry about whether you want to have that little red flower, that little orange flower. That's really the appeal to me. That might actually have been the best wording of my opinion about the whole ordeal that I've ever had. And the rest of this is honestly just trying to get some little props to put next to it. I did want to have some, those things are called cubby holes, right? I'm pretty sure they're called cubby holes, where you just put your luggage in. It's not luggage. You just put your bags and whatever you'd be taking to a theme park. Pretty sure that people take some surprising shit to a theme park. Well, in any case, you can put all your surprising shit in the cubby holes and don't have to worry about that on the ride. Neither do I have to worry about guests losing their shit on the ride. So that's good. And then I'll just have to fill up the roof over there. Yeah, there really isn't too much to the station. I might go back to it and just kind of check out if there's anything I want to change. But then again, I do feel like that's the sort of thing where I always say, yeah, I'll get back to that later on, and then just forget about it and never get back to it. It's also the sort of thing that, in the end, I feel like I can just kind of say, let's just not film that too much. Let's not take pictures of that. Let's not film it. Just have it there, so it is there, but not focus on it too much. That's the sort of thing. Also, the train track over here, I was basically hesitating to add anything on the other side of the train track, which is why I'm not adding anything on the other side of the train track, since I wanted to get a train CT over there in the future, which should have more gentle slopes and larger curves. But the future videos will have updates about that and how it's going to go. For now, I am almost running out of time. I am running out of time, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you all guys. Wait a second, let me redo that. I'll see you guys later.